Let me give you an unsolicited piece of advice for playing the Elden Ring DLC. If you haven't played the game for a year and a half and your character was on New Game Plus 6, just start a new character. Though I beat the DLC, I don't believe my experience was as pleasant as it could have been. So I decided to play through the entire game again on a normal difficulty, discussing the lore as it's presented in the game. I'm going to choose to Vagabond because it's just my style of gameplay. I've spent most of my life living in Florida, so I think I have a perfect name for this character. We're going to give the lands between the hero they need, not the one they want. We'll call him FTA for short. And now for the very detailed appearance. Right there's a man that has golden order oozing out of his head, chest, arms, legs, and back. Is there anything more beautiful or more lordly? This perfect specimen has the lower body of a cross-country runner, but has the upper body strength to cleave his enemies in two.
The fallen leaves.
Here is the first deception we come across in the game. These two pictures try to represent Marika and Radagon as two physically separate beings.
The great Elden Ring was shattered. In our home, across the fog, the lands between. Now,
You know what's one thing we never see in the game? A
is
detailed shot of Marika's face.
And in the night of the Black Knives, Godwyn the Golden was first to perish.
I have a theory about what happened with Ronnie's Great Rune, but first I need to see how a specific event unlocks in the game before I speak about it.
Claimed the shards.
Am I the only one who thinks Morgoth's one of the most interesting characters in this game? Poor Moog. He's a perfect example why you don't judge someone until all the evidence is first presented. The mental corruption caused by the Great Runes is probably why we have to fight all but one demigod in the game.
A war from which no lord arose. A war
This abandonment of the greater will
leading
makes
to
Goldmass
abandonment
assertions at the end of his quest 100%
by the
correct.
greater will. Oh, rise now, ye tarnished, ye dead who yet live. The call of long-lost grace speaks to us all. Horaloo,
Horalu, the man who puts in a whole lot of work and in the end gets screwed over big time.
the ever-brilliant.
Gold Mask, the smartest tarnished we will come across in this entire game.
Deathbed companion.
Thea is just creepy.
The loathsome
Dung Eater wishes he was an omen, but I pose a question. Was he an omen in a previous life? Sir Gideon Ofnir, the protagonist. The player's introduction here only really makes sense if you've actually beaten the base game.
Whom grace
This area
would again
resembles the
bless.
inside of the Erd tree. The flash of light we see coming up is exactly what we see when we enter the Erd tree at the end of the game to fight the final boss. My theory is our body was just stored in another tree
Across the fog
until it was time to be called back to the
to the
lands
lands
between.
between. To stand before the Elden Ring. and become the Elden Lord.
One of the first things we come across in the game is the remains of a dead Finger Maiden. The significance of this body will become apparent very soon. Once we step outside, we find we're at something called the Chapel of Anticipation. What we are seeing is the fog that surrounds the lands between, and the only way to get through it is to die. Lucky for us, the game gives us two options for dying. You can choose the Grafted Scion, or you can walk off the cliff. I'll be choosing the Grafted Scion. If you're skilled enough, you can actually defeat the Scion and get a sword and shield. Look at those gorgeous golden hairy knuckles. This right here is an interesting scene. Torrent sniffs our hand and seems to have a reaction by what he smells. I get the impression he is sensing that we are different compared to other Tarnished.
Don't worry, Torrent.
Notice the scars that cover her
Fortune is on
hands.
his side. We found him here, after all.
Notice the oversized hood of her cloak. There's only one other group in this game that has a cloak that looks similar to that, and theirs are milky white.
Even if it does violate the Golden Order.
That line right there is actually incredibly important. We are either violating the Golden Order, or we are not part of it. It should be noted that in one of the trailers, we are described as being a descendant of a Tarnished. This makes sense because we have an item called Memory of Grace. The memory of first grace, which guided bygone Tarnished to the lands between. It is merely a cycle. Stand before the Elden Ring, become the Elden Lord. The Memory of Grace perfectly sums up Elden Ring. The age of the Golden Order is over. It is time for the lands between to move on. This is one of the best shots in the game. Besides looking great, there's also foreshadowing. The first thing we see is the Erd Tree, which is our goal. In the background, we see the Forge of the Giants, which eventually becomes our new goal. And in the foreground, what we see are the ruins of Farum Azula. If you run up the hill, around the church, and into the cave, we find a Beastman of Farum Azula. One of only a few that actually exist on the solid ground. If you're anything like me, after a 90-hour playthrough, I completely forgot about all of this. For our troubles, we get a talisman that makes reference to ancient dragons. Another reference to Farum Azula. Let's address the golden elephant in the room, the Tree Sentinel. I'd be willing to bet nearly 100% of all new players charge in thinking, oh, my first real enemy, just for this to happen. Probably should have heeded the warning. There are crosses littering the path that still have bodies attached to them. He's here to punish any and all new Tarnished that enter the land. We are considered nothing more than pillagers by the Golden Order, so our spirit must be broken through death over and over again. It's not a difficult fight, he just has better sustain than us. Defeat him though, and you'll actually get a pretty decent weapon for the rest of the game. First question to ask about Vede is how does he know we are maidenless? He seems to have a good understanding of the predicament we find ourselves in, even though he himself acts like he's not a tarnished. His intention here is to get us to go to the castle and then smash our head against a brick wall. He hopes that we will end up coming back to him so he can lead us down a different path in the lands between, a path we will see later. Never trust a person wearing a mask and bloodied clothes. The first merchant we come across in the game is named Kale. He's part of a nomadic tribe of merchants that are spread out throughout the lands. Kale was once part of a storyline in the game that was cut. It had to do with his people along with Shabriri. If you look at Kale's eyes, which can be hard to see unless you position the camera correctly, what you're seeing is the frenzied flame. Some of the themes that were used in Kale's story seem to have been rewritten and used in Midra's DLC content. When we get to Lindell and the expansion, I'll come back and revisit Kale's story. We now officially meet Melina. This will not be the first or last time that we talk to someone who has an incorporeal form. Those people also have a physical body with a soul attached to it. So I pose a question: where is Melina's body?
The fog. I am Melina.
Notice the scars on her hand, and also the tattoo on her left eye. It appears to be the claw of a raven, which can be seen as a symbol of death.
I offer you
She wants us
an
to make a
accord.
pact with her. She'll play the role of our finger maiden, allowing us to level up if we take her along on our
Have you
travels.
heard of the finger
This
maiden?
implies she's not free to move around the lands between.
They serve the two fingers, offering guidance and aid to the tarnished. But you, I am afraid, are maidenless. I can play the role of maiden, turning runes into strength to aid you in your search for the Elden Ring. You need only take me with you to the foot of the Erd Tree. Then it's settled. Summon me by grace to turn runes into strength. Ah, another matter. I bequeath to you this ring. Use it to traverse great distances. It will summon a spectral steed named Torrent. Torrent has chosen you. Treat him with respect.
This idea that Torrent chose us very much might be the reason why she's
Now
offering
turn
us the
your runes
Accord.
to strength. Let my hand rest upon you. For but a moment, share them with me. Your thoughts, your ambitions, the principles you would follow.
What she said right there is actually very interesting. Thoughts, ambitions, and principles are exactly the three things that go into making three separate mending runes in the game. So at the Stormhill Shack, we find a young woman who tells us a horrible story about how everyone she came with has been grafted by what we assume is Godric. The grafted scions very much may be the created children of Godric, created by the very pieces of the people she came with.
Their legs taken, even their heads taken. Taken and stuck to the spider. Did you know, if you're grafted by the spider, you become a chrysalid? It's quite a lark when you think about it. You're all on your own, are you? And heading to Stormvale Castle? Enticed by the one in the white mask, I suppose. Oh, You've come to be one with the spider. Well,
This is
that
exactly
makes
what
us two
Vade
peas in
wants.
pod.
For us to
But I
become
don't have
broken
the
and go
courage.
crawling back to
It's
him.
scary, you
He
know,
can lead
having
us
your
on a
arms
different
cut off,
path.
or legs, or your head. I want to be like everyone else, but I'm just too scared. I'm nothing but a craven. Oh, I know. Can you take this little one along with you? The poor thing deserves someone braver than myself. And the spirits look rather fondly upon you. It'll be glad of your company, I think, the little un.
This idea that the spirits look fondly upon us helps us understand why Torrent chose us.
Can you pass on a message for me? If you see the little chrysalids in Stormvale Castle, tell them I love them. And that, despite my craven heart, I'm sure I'll be joining their club soon enough. I'm finally getting the hang of this whole pain thing, you know.
This tiny golden aura is the grace of the Erd Tree. This light once shone in the eyes of your tarnished brethren, but now it is all that guides you. Or so I hear. You can see them, can't you? The rays of grace that guide you through your burden. Upon the cliff in Castle Stormvale is a shard bearer, a demigod, who inherited a fragment of the shattered Elden Ring. If the rays of grace signal the castle, then the Elden Ring beckons you. As an ally by pact, I pray that you are fit to face the challenge presented by the ring.
So what she's saying is the tree that gives us the grace, but it's the ring that beckons us to the land.
Not seen you before. Name's Bernal. Tarnished, just like you. Let me ask you something. Are you here in the lands between to take up the fight? Does your faith in the guidance of grace hold firm, despite the collapse of the Golden Order? Honest to a fault, I see. Such thoughts won't behoove you.
His question is exactly what it appears to be. He's trying to see if we're loyal to the Golden Order.
Battle arts. All I know is the sword. Picked up a fair few tricks in my time, too. Now's the time to pass them on. To a good tarnished like you. There's a myriad of battle arts in these lands.
Brunel isn't just a merchant. He's an NPC we'll come across later in the game. His armor set actually has a very interesting description tied to it. We're going to come over here and start Alexander's quest. His quest line is actually quite long. It goes through almost the entire game. And at the end of his quest line, we find out why Queen Mariko was actually looking to get replaced. It'll be a while before we see him again. Talking to ghosts is always an interesting way of getting lore in the game. This one here is lamenting about how he finds it disgusting that anyone would want to live in death and not return to the Erd Tree. This is one of the best lore interactions we have with Melina. We find out Melina is searching for her purpose in the world. A purpose given to her by her mother who lives in the Erd Tree. She also seeks to understand why she is still in this world, though she is burned and bodiless. Here we come across one of the earliest recusant invasions. There are two types of invaders. Recusants are more of a paid assassin. There's a quest line later that takes us to their base of operations. The other kind of invader is doing it out of bloodlust.
This way, Tarnished. May I have a word?
Now we meet Ronnie for the first time. Notice the purple smoke and how Kale and his horse have both been put to sleep.
A pleasure to meet thee, Tarnished. I am the witch Renna. I'd heard tell of a Tarnished hurtling about atop a spectral
Did you hear what she said?
and upon
We are
looking
being
into the matter,
watched.
The
If
talk
she's
I
hearing about
surmise
us, that means
is of
others
thee.
are also.
Thou art possessed of the power, no? To call forth a spectral steed named Torrent. Ah, as I had hoped. I was entrusted this for thee by Torrent's former
Interesting.
master.
Torrent's former master seemed to have been waiting for us.
'Tis a bell for calling forth spirits. Summon them with it. From ash and return to the Erdtree, the spirits will obey thine command but briefly, as they recall battles past. Now it is thine, to do with as thou wishest. Forgive mine intrusion, Tarnished. I doubt we shall again meet. But all the same, learn well the lands between. How long will it be, I wonder, before the Tarnished tire of obeisance to the two fingers?
Notice she dissipates similar to Melina. The NPCs we've come across so far seem to all have a common dislike for the two fingers and the Golden Order. Godric the Golden, humiliated, having tasted defeat by the Blade of Mikola, now on his knees begging for mercy. This is the beginning of Bach's quest. His quest is fairly straightforward. He got kicked out of his home by the other demi-humans, and they stole all his items. Don't worry, Bach. I'll get all your stuff back. I've always wondered how many people actually use these bird's eye telescopes. The reason I'm using it here is because I want to take a look at this bridge and point something out. Notice how sections of the bridge have been destroyed and how so much of the rubble is on this side of the bridge. It's a reasonable assumption that at least part of Farum Azula was located north of that bridge. Whatever catastrophe struck it ripped the city apart, sending it flying all across the lands between. The weather in Limgrave is very poor, so it's hard to get a good look at the Divine Towers. I'll talk about this more once I move west where the weather is clearer. So this is where I'm going to end the video. I have to say, playing through the game on a new character is actually pretty fun. It's been years since my first playthrough, and I've actually forgotten what it's like to start out with nothing. It's kind of nice not having an inventory full of crap. If you made it to the end, thanks for watching. I hope you have a good day.